You're listening to the Oklahoma On Stage podcast. We're glad you've joined us. We can be found on most platforms, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you have any comments or questions, we'd love to hear them. So drop us an email at oklahomaonstage@gmail.com or use the comment form on our website, which is oklahomaonstage.org. If you like the podcast, please share it with someone. And now, sit back and enjoy another great episode.
Oklahoma on stage, the stories come alive. With drama, dance, and music, the arts always thrive. From center stage to backstage lore, Oklahoma on stage, there's always something more.
Welcome back to Oklahoma On Stage. As always, I'm Tim, your host. Today we are sitting on stage at the Ardmore Little Theater, and our guest today has been immersed in visual and performing arts for over 3 decades, singing, dancing, designing, mentoring across Oklahoma and beyond. From portraying Peter Pan in Disney's Fantasmic to performing abroad in Disney Dream and Carnival cruise ships, his voice and presence have reached audiences around the world. He's opened for Legends in Concert in Branson, toured with the Armed Forces Entertainment, and served as production crew for the Grand Illusions of Rob Lake. But his artistry doesn't stop at the stage. As a lighting and sound designer for Frontier Music Company and the Goddard Center, he brings technical precision to every performance. He teaches ballroom dance, offers private lessons, and has judged and emceed countless pageants and talent competitions, always with an eye toward uplifting the next generation. With a background in musical theater, gospel, opera, pop, R&B, and jazz, his versatility is matched only by his passion. Today, we'll explore his journey from church performances at age 3 to professional stages across the country, and how he's using his gifts to build community, inspire artists, and keep Oklahoma's creative spirit thriving. Oklahoma On Stage family, join me in welcoming Nate Durbin to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Tim.
Absolutely.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out and agreeing to be a part of this. I always love when we put out a feeler out there for people to be a part of this, and somebody's, hey, I've got a story to tell. That's what we're all about, is telling stories. So hey, let's just dive right into this. How did you get started singing at age 3?
So, funny story, kind of. When I was younger, my mom would always sing to me and stuff like that. My family, kind of, they sang a little bit and stuff. But whenever I was at church, I was always, when they were singing on stage and stuff like that, I would be singing as well. Just in, the audience or whatever you call it. And it was something that one of the music directors there, she kind of pulled me aside one Sunday and was like, you need to be in our little Christmas show. And I was like, okay. And I ended up playing a little sheep that got to meet Jesus. Essentially, he was the meek, quiet one. And I was quiet back then. Funny. That's why I said it's kind of funny, because I'm like, I'm not quiet now. But I was kind of, a little shy back then. And but she's like, you have this beautiful voice for such a young age. And it was something that I kind of, had one solo, and it was my big moment and everything like that. And I look out in the audience and everything like that, and the shyness just went away, and I became the sheep. I mean, like there was several different sheep that had different like things. Some were, all about me. Some were like, a little conceited and rude, or all these different aspects of maybe the 7 deadly sins kind of tied into it a little ish. But it was something that my character was, meek and humble and everything like that. And I ended up singing a song, and people in the audience cried, and I was like, and then applauded and stuff. And I was like, this is something I really enjoy. Like that was fun. And so I started doing, the bell choir and like, all the other things, and singing more in with the church and stuff like that. And then that led to years later, kind of being physically on stage with the church and stuff like that, and singing on the worship team and stuff. So that was pretty cool to be able to do that. But like I said, was very shy growing up, attached to my mother's hip, but somehow the beauty and magic of theater, can really shape someone into a better version of themselves. And
Absolutely.
it was something that for me, it kind of lit that spark and flame that kind of ignited the beauty of theater into my life, and changed me for the better, because I'm now, not shy, and I'm able to, go and do different things, but I'm also, like you said in my intro, help the next generation and stuff, and that's for me, that's really, really humble and cool thing to do, to be able to share that with other people.
Yeah, that's cool. So, do you ever remember that moment? Everybody's got that moment. Would you remember that moment when you realized this was more than a hobby? This is what I really want to do.
So yeah, that would have been, so when I was in high school, I, for the longest time, languages is something that is really important to me, because I like to be able to speak to people on their level, so that I can communicate and they can fully understand me, and I can fully understand them in a way that's more than just the surface level of communication. It's like, wow, you took the time to actually, learn that. And so I was going to be a linguist. That's what I was like. I'm going to be a linguist. And that turned to, I'm going to study biology and, all these other different aspects, because I love science and I loved languages. So I was like, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do both. But I had a music teacher, Lisa Riggle. She, she worked with me a lot, and it was something that I kind of realized that I really enjoyed being on stage. But she offered a stagecraft class, because that's the biggest question that most people ask a kid when they say, "Oh, I'm going to go study musical theater," and they're like, "How are you going to make money? Like, what are you going to do for like income and stuff like that?" And so,
Sure.
because of that stagecraft class, it kind of opened another door, that I was like, not only can I do the technical theater side, but I can, in some aspect, probably be able to also do on stage as well, or some type of performance aspect. And so, and every show that I was in, she would cast me in these roles that I wouldn't necessarily be like, okay, this is exactly, what I want, but it showed me that I can literally play any character. Like, one year I was Belle's dad, another year I was Andrew Carnes in, Oklahoma, and years later, played Will Parker. Um, but in then some shows I was like multiple characters and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, you can play the lead. Yeah, you can play, supporting characters, and you can play the ensemble, but you also can light the stage. You also can, design the sound, or design the set, or build the set, or help, develop all these different aspects. So when I went to school, it was like, this is actually what I want to do. I was like, I have a passion for this. And this is something that, and if I don't have a passion for something, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so, yes, I loved, and I still, I still study languages and stuff, and I still, do all that, but it wasn't as big of a passion as, being on stage and telling stories. I've been in some shows that some of the stories are based on true stories, and I'm like, these are powerful stories that wouldn't normally get told unless there was an outlet for it.
Sure.
And, that to me is pretty awesome, bringing some historical, elements alive, and being able to play the characters, and, dig inside their heads and stuff to kind of get that emotion of how they were feeling and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that kind of was when I was in high school. Like I said, kind of lit the flame, lit the spark that kind of really was like the turning point for me anyway, that was like, this is truly what I'm passionate about and what I really want to do. So
Cool. No, love it. Okay, so you studied musical theater at Southeastern and Oklahoma City University.
yes.
And you trained in video and photography. So, like you said, kind of a well-rounded individual. Um, so how did those experiences expand your creative toolkit, so to speak?
So whenever I was, well, we'll go backtrack just a smidge. So when I was in high school, I was going to be going to Southern Oklahoma Technology Center, which is now, I think, Southern Tech is what it's called now. And that's where I studied video production, and my grandma was a professional photographer and stuff like that. And so kind of learned from her, and that kind of sparked that interest as well. But then throughout school, it was taking all these classes and learning that just because there are lights and sound and all these other aspects. Whenever I was watching people in their element, like from the director or from the lighting guy or the professors and stuff like that were really truly teaching the classes or just doing it, and I was like mentoring or shadowing them, I realized that you can truly change the emotion with lighting. You can change the emotion by adding little hints of sound or little hints of fog or little hints of, a projection or something or any of that. And so like before, coming from a small town, it was like, we didn't have these big elaborate um budgets, and so it's like can't really do what they do on Broadway, and stuff. And so but we still managed to find ways of doing it. And then in school, like learning the tools and of like how to actually implement those, and how just by changing a light from straight down to a 45-degree angle can shape a costume. Like, did not realize that you can turn a Party City costume into a fabulous ball gown. You know what I mean? Like, with just changing the lighting and changing like a gel.
Sure.
And it blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is pretty cool. Same thing with making a set. Like, you may have a basic set. You may paint it very, generic and stuff like that, but you can completely change it with lighting. And same thing with costuming. When I was, taking costuming classes, stuff like that, I was like, I did not realize that there was so much that went into it, and learning, that what the audience sees is not always the most accurate depiction of what is actually going on. I have seen some costumes that if you only turned around, you'd be like, so this is actually 3 costumes sewn together to make this actual costume, or this is literally being held on by a thread or Velcro or something,
Duct tape.
yeah, or something, and stuff like that. And I've even painted some of my costumes because I was like, I really love this costume. I was in Addams Family, and I was like, I really love this costume. But the director wanted, I was the conquistador ancestor. And she was like, I really want all the costumes to be on a gray and white scale.
Of course.
Because all of the Addams Family is going to be on the blacks and, darker, richer tones. And everybody in the other family is going to be, the happy colors. And so I was like, well, this costume is not gray, but it fit the conquistador look. And so I ended up airbrush painting it and using some of the skills that I learned how to, paint and stuff like that, and ended up painting my costume to where it was still movable and still breathable and everything like that, but it still ended up working, and nobody that's why I said, I was like, unless you touch the material, nobody out there actually saw. So that was pretty cool.
Very good. Good. So, okay, you went to high school, started out with your stuff. You went to college, fine-tuned some things. What was your first step after college?
So I ended up doing the Disney Summer College program, which is how I ended up becoming Peter Pan of the Disney Fantasmic Show. And that was one of the most incredible experiences ever. I took everything that I learned from school, but also things that just I learned in the real world and stuff, like um, just because you're having a bad day does not mean that, you bring that into your character or you bring that into the workplace or whatever. And so, and Disney is the happiest place in the world or, whatever and stuff. And so whenever I auditioned, it was something that I was so nervous because I was like, this is like a bigger step, and you watch, the Disney show and you may go to Disney World or Disneyland or whatever and see these characters and stuff like that, but you're like, that's never going to be me because and whenever I ended up auditioning, I ended up auditioning and getting in the parade, but there was a guy that ended up um that was in the Fantasmic show and he ended up getting hurt. And they're like, we need a filler. Going back to what we learned in school, I learned how to fly and how to, stage combat and all that stuff. And already being there, it was something that I kind of, put my name in the hat kind of thing. And they're like, well, how quickly could you learn this? And I was like, well, I literally have done shows where I only had 2 rehearsals and we had an opening night. And like I was a featured dancer in a traveling show that is kind of like, okay, so this is going to be challenging because you got to be spot on, but I can do it. And so I ended up learning the part and doing it, and then ended up staying in that part for a while until I think it was whenever may have been Frozen that came in, and they needed a bigger, section for that, and so the Peter Pan Captain Hook scene kind of got not taken down completely, but kind of shortened and stuff. And so I was like, I'm gonna expand and see what else is out there. And so I kind of ended up doing cruise ships. and so that was fun and got to implement, the ballroom aspects. So I taught ballroom or on some of them, and some of them I was singing lounge jazzy style songs and stuff, and occasionally some R&B and stuff, and some were musical theater, some were this and that and everything. And so it was kind of cool to be able to utilize the things that I learned in school in a way that I was like, this, I never would have had this opportunity had I not dove headfirst completely in and really shaped my voice, shaped my craft, honed in on what my talents are, like what makes me different from someone else, like what do I bring to the table, what separates me from everybody else. And one of the strongest things for me that I've noticed is tenacity is one of my strong suits, like and that's actually, I worked for a company called Tenacity Consulting Group, and that was one of the things that's on my resume. And she goes, it's crazy that I met you and that this isn't your thing because my company is literally Tenacity, like, but it's something that, I feel like you can do anything you set your mind to do. I mean, if you truly, really like set your mind fully and work hard, because, everything is not easy. Some things may come easy to others. Some may, be challenging and stuff. But for me, it's like, I'm never going to say that I can't do something until I've at least tried. And so for me, it's something that if I apply myself and I really like pay attention and really like focus on whatever it is, I can learn like I did Little Shop of Horrors and learned the entire show I played Seymour and learned the entire show in 4 hours.
Wow.
Craziest thing I ever did. But during rehearsals, it was a show that we ended up not having, we ended up changing the show because we didn't have enough people to do, I can't remember the name of the show. It's a Judy Garland show. It has White Christmas in it. I can't remember the name of the show.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, yeah, and I'm sure the listeners will know what it is too. But anyway, ended up doing
Somebody's
that
going to be
show.
shouting at their...
Yeah, somebody shouting. Yeah, exactly. And so we didn't get as much rehearsal time, and so I was like, "There's no way." Just in the short amount of time that we've been learning this blocking, because I associate blocking with my memorization because it's muscle memory.
Same.
And so I was like, there's no way. I'm like, this is so complicated. And the director was like, work on your stuff. I was like, yeah, but I need to like work on my like stuff. And we've only briefly went over it. And so I met up with one of my friends here that was also on the show, and she worked with me until I got every scene, every note, every song, everything. And the music was easy. That part was no big deal because I knew the show. So I was like, that part was not as complicated. It was all of the dialogue and all of the inflections and his character arc and everything. But it was like, we worked until it was perfect. And then came back the next rehearsal. And the director was like, what in the world? Like, like it was a complete change, because it was like not off book to completely off book, the entire everything. And that was, like I said, you could do anything you set your mind to do if you literally work hard for it and stuff. And same thing with any audition I've ever done. You may not get every role, you may not get every single thing, but never let that discourage you, because some of the roles that I've played were parts that I never thought I would ever play. Like I played Kaneki in Grease. I do not look like a Kaneki, on surface level. And I was kind of discouraged that I didn't get Danny. And I just kind of asked the director, I was like, did I do something wrong? Like, or whatever. And he goes, no, you are an actor. I've seen you on stage. I've seen you in, the background actors. Every role that you play, you bring that character to life in a way that not only that I can do, but like in a way that like makes that character noticeable.
Sure.
And even if it's a small scene, like you still bring that character to life, give it the same energy you would as if it was a leading part. And I was like, yeah, but Kaneki, that's an iconic role. And I am not Kaneki in any way, shape, or form in the real world. And so that was an acting challenge, but I ended up doing it. And there were people in the audience that know me and was like, had I not know you, I would have like that. What the heck was that? And
Acting.
exactly. And that's what I said. I was like, that was the moment I really got to truly put all the skills that I learned in school and all of the atmosphere characters that I played, which that's a word that one of my professors, may he rest in peace, Del McLean, said there are no small parts, only small actors.
Yep.
And the thing that stood out the most was, you're an atmosphere artist. You may not be the lead, but those smaller characters help progress the story. They help tell the story in a way that without them,
Absolutely,
it doesn't make sense. Like
right.
The show does not make sense. How do these people meet? Why are they know all the things?
Yeah.
And so getting to do stuff like that and be characters that I never thought it would be, based on applying everything that I've learned. I always learn. I try to learn something new every day. That's not always achievable, but I try to at least learn something, whether that's a new word or a new skill or a new something, some level. I try to learn something new all the time. And so, but also getting to put what I learned from the real world into the characters as well. I'll be watching people in the real world sometimes, and
People watching is
yeah, it is, yeah, it really is, because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, the way they're moving, that's really cool. That would be a great, whatever character, and so whenever I've done theater for young audience, which is, trying to figure out the best way to describe it, would be regular theater on speed or on like the next level. I was like, and stuff, because you have to entertain children
Oh yeah.
and stuff. And so it's like you are bringing energy that you normally wouldn't bring, but also your characterization. You can't just be straightforward.
And children can spot a liar.
Exactly.
Children can spot a
Exactly.
fake quicker than anything.
Exactly. And so that's the thing, even at Disney, like if you like if certain thing, I was like, I don't know exactly what I can and can't say, because I was like, some of the stuff I'm like, I can't, it's not a secret, I don't think, but some of the princesses, for instance, if they're sweating, they've got to go. Like their handler essentially will take them away, and because in pictures, princesses do not sweat. Right? People do, but princesses don't,
Right.
and stuff. And so that's something that you don't want to break the magic. But the same thing, if you are having a bad day, Peter Pan's not having a bad day, Elsa's not having a bad day. Like
They don't want to see somebody playing Peter Pan. They want to see Peter Pan.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, even with casting, is whenever you are playing whatever character, you may get mad that you didn't get the part that you wanted, but the director, for the most part, knows what they're doing when they cast a show. They're like,
they have a vision.
I see you playing this part because you brought something in the audition that kind of sparked, oh, this character would be great. And, like your mannerisms that you did in this reading for a completely different character or for that character ended up being exactly what was needed to fit the bill and stuff. And so for me, I'm like, no matter what I'm playing, I'm like, I'm going to give it my all. I may on stage for 2 minutes or the whole show, which I've done both. and that is something that's, taking every life experience and applying that to my day to day, but even taking the things that I've learned in theater and applying that into the, quote unquote real world, if you will. So, that's kind of cool as well.
So all these countless performances that you've done
Mm-hmm.
here in Oklahoma, on the cruise ships, all over the place, are there any roles or shows that stand out kind of as turning points within your journey in theater?
Yes. So for the longest time, I was always cast as comedic roles, or I would cast as, the maybe a flamboyant character, or maybe, something that was not your typical leading man. But I worked with a director that ended up casting me in Sabrina Fair as one of the brothers. And that character is not flamboyant. That character is not, they are a very straightforward character in all aspects of the meaning. And they end up, wanting to marry Sabrina and everything. And so when the director gave me that opportunity, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, and it was that moment that everything clicked, that, you're not necessarily stripping away who you are, but you are, trying to bring truth to the character, obviously, but you really have to think consciously the whole time, for me anyway. I mean, it was like, I can't play this part. There's no way. And then I was working with one of the most well-known people here in Ardmore, in the community theater. Joe Wellness played my dad, and we were doing a scene together, and he kind of really helped me in a way that, and I don't even know if he knows this, but he helped me in a way that I was like, I would be watching him, and I was like, okay, maybe if I do it like this, or okay, that was a little too much. But we had a scene where we were, arguing and stuff as father and son, and I kind of I guess it struck a realism, and this was something that I was like, okay. And for me, it clicked in a way that I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of me, but in a way that is different. And so I didn't have to necessarily strip away me from the character, because that's what I was thinking. You know, I have to strip me, because I am like, I may be, playing this character, but it's like I'm still trying my best to not be me. But it's like, no, I am me, and this is kind of me, but it's through this character, and it kind of flipped the switch and made me realize that I can play whatever character as long as I tie in a bit some pieces of me in the realism to keep it authentic, and stuff. And with method acting and stuff like that as well. But this before I knew about method acting.
Right.
I was like, and that kind of was the turning point, that after playing that part, I started getting cast in leading roles, and I started playing these bigger parts and these other characters, and playing Kaniki and all the Bobby Child, Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors, Will Parker. I'm trying to think. There were so many others. My brain is so like, but anyway, yeah, play all these different parts, and it was like, holy crap! I was like, never would I ever thought that I would play this part. Never would I ever thought that, thinking in a different way would have been the turning factor. Like, that, but it would not have happened had I not been given that opportunity. And that's what a lot of people, I'm like, you may be playing these small parts, but it's how you play those small parts that people watch. And that's how you end up getting bigger parts, is because they're like, well, they took this part and literally like stole the show.
Absolutely.
Or they took this part and I was crying in the scene that they were only in for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, how did you do that? Like, what? And it's like, no matter what you're playing, because then that tells the director or the audience that may have a director sitting in the audience, it's like, I want you to play this part because you did something that I didn't think of you in that part until I saw you do it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And so that's why I always tell a lot of the kids that I work with and teens and stuff, don't be discouraged and don't give up, that, the fact that you didn't get the part that you wanted. Right now, what you need to focus on, is really bringing this character to life, because you got cast in this part because you did something in audition that the director saw that only you can do. Out of everybody's audition, only you can play this part, and that kind of does bring out a different side of them, and it makes them feel more confident, and then they end up doing it. And I'm like, this is exactly what I was talking about. I was like, this is why
Yep.
you got cast as this part.
Absolutely.
Literally, you are doing certain mannerisms, or you're doing certain inflictions that weren't told to you. You just did it.
You figured it out, yeah.
Well, not even figuring it out. This is just who you are.
Right.
So it's like you're bringing yourself to the character, which is why you got cast as this part.
Absolutely.
You raise your one eyebrow. Nobody else in here can raise one eyebrow, or you are like Jim Carrey with all the faces. Oh, Robin Williams with all the faces and stuff like that. The reason you are playing these parts is because not very many people can do that. Like, not very many people can bring out that infliction, or that, side of themselves. Or some people may not feel comfortable enough playing this part. Yet you do, like, when, and stuff. And so that's what one thing I'm like, give it your all for every single part that you do, because you never know where that's going to take you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good note. That's a good note. I mean, I've told people several times, I may have a role that I'm on there 2 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
People are going to remember that 2 minutes.
Exactly.
I don't care if I'm, a star of the show. I don't care if, any of that stuff. If what I do is integral to the story.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of a book, or as we're sitting here in this enchanted bookshop, if you think of a book, chapter 6 is not the whole story.
Yeah.
But without chapter 6, there may not be a chapter 7 or 8.
Yeah, exactly.
which means there's something important in chapter 6. And so you need to make sure that chapter 6 is
Yeah,
very important. So,
absolutely. Right now in the Enchanted Bookshop, I'm only in Act 2, in the second to the last scene and the last scene. But I make sure it's noticeable, and I make sure, I'm like, everybody is gonna remember that character, or they're going to laugh, or whatever, because I'm like, I'm not just gonna come in and just say my lines and then be like, I was only in this little part. No, it's like, no, I enjoy it. I'm playing Dr. Dolittle in the show, and it's so much fun. It's a lot of fun, and I get to actually wear a costume that I wore in several years ago when I was in Mary Poppins. And so I was like, full circle. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is literally the costume I wore in Mary Poppins. And, but wearing it in a different way, so I'm a different character, obviously. But I was like, it was cool to be able to get to wear something that I've wore many years ago. And I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's always cool. So you toured with the Armed Forces Entertainment?
So that one was during 2020, when the world kind of shut down. I work with Rob Lake, and he was, performing around the world. The world shut down. What are we going to do? He was on America's Got Talent. His career was, even going higher. And then the world just stops, and it's like, what are we going to do? And Armed Forces, reached out to him, and, he ended up bringing shows to the troops. We filmed at OCCC, and then got aired for all the troops to see and everything like that. And so that was really cool to be able to be a part of that aspect. But it was something that we didn't get to travel, but we still got to perform. We still got to do, what we do and what makes us happy, and bring the magic, if you will, play on words, but literally bring the magic of, because it still is theater, it still has that show aspect.
Absolutely.
And bringing joy in a difficult time. The world was literally probably the highest level of depression the world has seen, since the Great Depression and, all this other stuff. And it was kind of like our version, not necessarily of the Great Depression, but like our version of like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean we can't work? What do you mean we can't do this and do that? And like everything else, like it was a wild time. I don't want to get too much into it because that's a whole other story for another time. But I did a lot in 2020 that I never thought I would have done. But got to do it because, again, tenacious. I will always find a way to do what I love. I will always find a way and an outlet to perform. I will always find a way to do what I'm passionate about and what I love. And no matter what, I may move tomorrow into a new state, a new whatever, and I'm going to find whatever theater they have. And if they don't have a theater in that town or whatever, I'm going to be making one, or whatever. It's like, all right, we're going to have our first theater ever show, or, whatever, because of being a part of all the different aspects of theater. I've learned every single side of it, the box office side. The only part that I don't know, and I don't think I ever want to do, is the grant writing process. That is tedious, and God bless the people that do that.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that are the real superheroes.
Well, and that's why we say there is something in theater for everybody.
Exactly.
Even if you don't think right here in the center of the stage is where I can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but maybe you're really skilled with a pencil.
Mm-hmm.
And you can write, or you can draw, or
Yeah.
you can, whatever. This design had to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And again, there are people that are innately administrative.
Mm-hmm.
They can do the counting and accounting of the money,
Oh yeah.
the grant writing, all that kind of other stuff. That, as I always say, the support personnel.
Yes.
I think
And those are super important.
absolutely, for years in the business world, I had always said, I'm not a frontline person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the person that goes out into the field about person, but my job has always been, regardless of what actual job I was in, my job has always been to make sure that those people have
Mm-hmm.
everything they need to do their job the best that they can.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that still applies to the theater. There are those people that, whether that be the techies,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be the people in the booth, whether
Mhm.
that be the stage manager,
Mm-hmm.
the box office director, whatever.
Handing out the programs.
Yeah,
And
those are the people that are doing whatever they can to make the actor's job, to let them do the best that they can do.
oh yeah, even the people that literally come in and clean after the show.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Or even there have been times that we've had, like football players that came in because we had big pieces that fly and we don't have, an electrical fly system.
Right.
And you can weight it well all day long, but for the average person that doesn't, lift weights or, this and that, like your arms are going to get tired. And if you're doing a big musical that has lots of up and down, like with the fly stuff, you might get tired, but there's athletic people or non-athletic people, like people that, we've had people that are, that work in the, warehouse world.
Yeah.
That, that's kind of something that they're like, I'm used to doing stuff like this.
They know how to move things.
Yeah, yeah. And so their arms are a little bit more, developed and stuff. And obviously you want it weighted correctly, but it's something that, like I said, it takes a toll. And that is something that is one of the most important things too. If you have a fly system and you're flying things in the show without that person, it's not going to happen. And your scene changes or your whatever special effect or whatever you're doing with the fly system, or if someone's supposed to fly or whatever, not going to happen without those people. Same thing with the people that paint the set. There is anybody can screw something into wood or whatever. Anybody can handle a power tool. So anybody can help build the set. But painting the set, anybody can put the base coat down, but really adding the details and implementing all of that aspect, that's the part that takes an artist. And sometimes...
And that's something I'm not good at.
Exactly. And sometimes artists are like, I am not...
I can't act.
I
can't.
They're like super introverted. Yeah.
But you can paint me a picture on stage.
Yes. And
whether
make it beautiful.
Yeah, whether that's actual scenery or it's actually set pieces.
Yeah.
You can make that real.
Oh yeah. There have been pieces that people painted, like an actual painting of someone, and then it was hanging in the set, and stuff. And I'm like, that's really cool.
I knew a director one time. He was putting on a show, and I can't remember what the show was, but he had a student. I believe it was, I was in college when this happened. He had a student that was an artist, had come and said, I need to get some credits for blah, 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 blah. Is there anything that I can help do? And he's like, they kind of went through the, what do you do? That kind of thing. He's like, okay, so you're an artist. Yeah, I've been painting for years. And he said, oh, okay. So he looks through this book and he comes through and he says, there's this painting that he just loves, this painting. He goes, can you make this on stage?
Yeah.
And so this student was able to take that picture and and it was kind of an abstract photo or painting, but was able to take that and make a set out of the painting.
That is incredible.
Just by, the visual, because a lot of people don't have that visual continuity to be able to take it from their head. I've even known directors same way. I've got this vision, I can see it, but I can't put it there.
And that is why the director needs all the people that are on the team, because the team is what really truly makes the show happen.
Yes, there's nobody. I don't care who it, even if you talk so much, and it's kind of a popular thing in some theaters, the one-man show, But even with that, there's other people involved to make that one-man show happen. Even if there's just a chair and a table.
Oh, yeah.
somebody's got to put that there and got to put it in the right place.
And somebody's got to light it, and somebody's got to make sure that the person sounds okay.
Exactly.
They also got to make sure that people are in the seats. They got to make sure that, tickets are being sold. Advertisement is happening.
Yes. Because if I'm just doing a one-man show and there's nobody there, that's rehearsal. That's
exactly. Yeah, that's the thing that I think most people don't really truly realize what truly goes on to make a show and make a show successful.
Yep.
Because if you don't have all those elements, it's like, how did anything happen in this show? Like, unless you physically do it yourself.
Yeah.
But then you're so exhausted that by the time you get to opening night, it's like you're wore out and it's the worst show. Not the worst show, but it's like,
I feel so sorry for directors that don't get that.
Yes.
They feel like they have to own everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let it go.
Absolutely.
Find somebody that can help you. Find somebody that can do this while you focus on this.
Oh, yeah.
Because every person, director, stage manager, whatever, has an area that they are phenomenal at.
Yes.
Let an assistant director or a stage manager or whatever handle these other things while you be phenomenal at that.
Yes. And sometimes I've even worked with some directors that some of the actors will bring certain things, and I've worked with two different sides of it. I've worked with a director that my vision is the only vision, and anything outside of that is wrong.
Yeah.
And then the show might be good and it might not be. Or certain aspects might be good or bad or whatever. And then I've worked with directors that they will have a vision, and then one night an actor will finally get into their character. They'll put their book down. They'll be off book and they'll do something naturally. And the director was like, that is not how I normally saw that, but whatever you did, do that again every night. Like that enhanced way beyond what I thought.
Yeah.
Or being able to sometimes have an actor that, is experienced or even not experienced, but being able to ask, hey, can I try this just to see how it works?
What if we did this?
Yeah.
To have that director to say, let's try it and see what it looks.
And sometimes I've literally been blown away by even kids. Like, there's a kid in this show that they just do something naturally. And it was like,
where'd that come from?
Where did that come from? You're not even old enough to have enough experience, but you're doing certain things or mannerisms or things like that. And the director was like, keep it. That's perfect. Like, oh my gosh, because you can only direct so much. You can't direct. If you were so particular on every single aspect, maybe, but then that would be the most difficult show to direct, and you would need more than 6 weeks to direct it. If you're implementing every inflection, every emotion, every single movement that the person does, it's an entirely choreographed show, from the when I lift my eyebrow to when I walk across here, when I set this book down, that to me is the most difficult director to work with.
There's no interpretation.
There's not. And so it's nice that, I've got to work with a lot of really amazing directors that are collaborative, if that makes sense. And sometimes, even some of the shows that I've directed, and we were talking about, somebody that does it all, because I have done different aspects and stuff like that, I occasionally have either been in a show and designed the lights for the show, didn't operate them, but designed them. Or I've directed a show, designed the lights for it, ran the lights for it, ran the sound, and all this other stuff. And because when I first started doing it, I was like, I want it to be perfect. I want it to be, not necessarily my way or the highway, because I was collaborative and stuff like that. But I was like, I need it to happen whenever, whatever's happening on stage might be a little different. And it is not on this word when it happens. It's when this emotion or this, whatever happens. And it's like learning to actually strip that side away and train someone. That's why I'm so focused. I love teaching. I love teaching people. And anytime somebody strikes any type of interest, I'm like, please let me. Yes, I was like, I would love to teach you, because then it's allowing them to have that spark, and they might have a moment of what I call a magic moment. And those magic moments for me is whenever I have a light bulb click and it's like, oh, well, what if we do this?
Yeah.
Like there have been shows that the director's like, I want this or that and everything like that. And I'm designing the lights and I'm like, but what if we do this? How do you, and they're like, let's see it.
Yeah, let's see it.
And I was like, I didn't think of it. It just kind of came to me or whatever. And I was like, I just want to try it and see. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it does, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But learning to be able to work with people is also, very, very important as well. Because if you can't work with everybody, there's going to be something. I mean, obviously the theater is full of drama, but leave the drama for on the stage and not, with the rest of it. And when the team works together and you have a really powerful team that works together to make the show, it becomes one of the most powerful shows. I played Marius in the first ever production in Oklahoma. Whenever the rights got released, we were the first theater to be able to do the show, and then everybody else started doing it too. But as far as like the first performance of Les Mis in Oklahoma of a non-professional caliber, was incredible. And the director was somebody that I went, that was one of my professors, and I hadn't seen them in years. And so I was like, I think the only thing they have in mind is who I was when I was in college. And so I want to showcase them or show to them that, I felt like I had to show a different side of me. But whenever it came to auditions, everything that I thought I took out of my head. And I was like, I have to sing a song that captures the emotion, and ended up singing a song that most people cried. And I was like, that is literally how I got the part, because there was other people that I was watching that went before me, and I'm going, oh my gosh, that guy is actually really good. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And felt so like, but I was like, and I could have played any character, but whenever I played Marius, we had other people from all over Oklahoma and stuff that was in that show. And it was the first time that there was people from all over, even Plano, Texas, that came up here and stuff. And it was the first, it was one of the strongest casts, strongest team. I mean, every aspect of the entire show was magical. And it was cool to see how harmonious everything was. Like there was no drama, there was no nothing. I mean, it was like everybody was working together to tell this story, and on a level that we ended up being sold out every night. I mean, it was crazy. It was like, whoa. But seeing it all come to life and seeing everybody work together, even the what Dell would call atmosphere artist, working hard in telling their story, it was mind-blowing. I was like, wow. I was like, this is community theater on some next level,
Wow.
Kind of aspect. And I was like, because you don't take on a show that's big like that everybody knows, unless you can do it, or you have a big budget for like special effects and all the other thing to, and but the acting, I mean, the singing, every aspect was phenomenal. I was like, this is incredible to see community theater aspect on this level, because going and doing the professional world, everybody you walk in, there is multiple people that are, there's, probably 100 or more people that either look like me, sound like me, sing like me, have the same range as me, mannerisms, whatever, and sometimes you go into an audition and you're like, oh, I got this. But then you see somebody else walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, these people all look like me. What the heck? And so that's where I was talking earlier about what do I bring to the table? Like what separates me, getting outside of my head and of, oh, I got to play the lead, or, oh, I got to, do this or that. It's like, no, be in the moment, be present. because sometimes during an audition, whatever you thought in your head previously may change based on the room you're in, the director, the people, how they respond, and just being present and aware, because the best form of acting is actually reacting. Because how you respond, how the inflections you give, that is the true acting.
True.
I mean, you can be all Shakespearean and all the things of, being very big and like powerful and all these things, but it's like, that's great, but what happens when you stop talking?
Yep.
Is the audience going to believe the rest of what's going on because you're still on stage? But if you're not reacting, if you're not present in the moment, you may miss something. And seeing and teaching that with people, it's incredible to see the difference between, like I have a game that I play with the kids whenever I do camp and stuff like that with and it's something that, it's a reacting game. So it's like, okay, we're going to do this, whatever it is, whatever, setting up the scene or whatever. But it's like, okay, I want you to say this exact same line and you're going to be happy. You're going to be sad. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Now I want you to do it while you're sad, but your face is different, like changing all the different stuff. And, they're doing all these inflections and stuff like that. And it's teaching them. But then I was like, okay, now I want you to implement everything that we've learned and now put this entire thing together, and we're going to see what you do naturally. Like with, all these different aspects that you've learned now, let's implement them in a way. And it's always crazy or not crazy, beautiful to see what people do and what people bring to life.
Sure.
And so I'm like, that for me is one of the most magical things that can be done anytime I watch a show. And yeah, the actor that's playing the lead may be incredible, but sometimes I'm watching the people in the background. And when I see every single person present, or I see every person doing something that either helps the story along in a way that you're like, I didn't even realize how important what you're doing is. But every night you do this thing, like, because I may watch a show multiple times, but I'm like, every night you're doing this thing that it's like the turning point for your character. And I didn't even know you had a turning point. Like you only have like 10 lines in the show, but you do something that is not when you're speaking that is incredible. And so that's something that, to all the fellow actors out there, I know that, every single one of us have been told, whatever and stuff, but the most important part is truly reacting when it comes to acting. Because you could give the best performance or the best solo or best vocals or whatever, but when you're not speaking, what you do is important because there are always people watching.
That's it.
And that for me, I will watch shows and it blows my mind whenever I'm actually watching the rest of the show. Like yes, there's something going on that's important.
Of course.
But it's like, if I know the story, sometimes I'm watching what's going on in the background too, because I'm like, how are they telling the story?
Yeah.
And then I see the show in a different way and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if it's the director, the actor, but whoever did this, set this part up or added this aspect to it was incredible and stuff. So that makes a show even more powerful when everybody's doing that.
So you're back here in Oklahoma. What do you got going on now?
Right now, I am currently in the Enchanted Bookshop, like I said earlier, playing Dr. Dolittle. Tonight I'm playing the part of Dr. Dolittle, but I'm also doing airbrush tattoos for an event. Let's see, I also work for an IT company, which is also something that you wouldn't normally have. You wouldn't normally have, or that I normally would have never thought I would have done anything in that world. But in 2020, like I said, I will always find a way to do something.
Absolutely. We got to pay the bills.
Exactly. And so but I work for an IT company, Native American Computers and Cabling Company, and we are doing things that I am like, this is something I'm like, I didn't realize I had a passion for, tech and all this other stuff, but because of the things that I've done in the tech world, with lighting and sound, or the things that I've done, with day to day dealing with computers, or things that I've learned in graphic design, or things that I've learned, from all these different aspects, all tie into a little bit of troubleshooting.
Yep.
Is IT at its
Yep.
finest.
The overlap.
And
Exactly.
so having that mindset of everything that I've done in theater, never would have thought that would have trained me for troubleshooting computers and stuff like that, because what happens when you're on stage and something is not there,
Right.
or something. And so the problem solving skills, that's something, again, theater teaches you things that you would never learn unless. That's why theater is one of the most important parts. The arts are one of the most important things that every child, no matter who they are, should be a part of.
Yes.
And at least for 1 year, because they will learn things that they will implement in the real world and make them stronger individuals because of it. And I'm living proof of that. I've done so many different aspects that all somehow circle back to what I learned when I was on stage, or what I learned when I was performing, or what I learned when I was doing this, or and I always implement those into different aspects of jobs that I do. And it's crazy to see how closely those things are, or how impactful they help whatever skill that I'm doing
Yep.
outside of theater.
Yeah.
And stuff. But had I not been immersed in theater, as long as I have, even if it would have been a year, for someone, you still gain some type of something. And so, yeah, that for me is really important, that I always learn something new, because you never know where that's going to take you. You never know that because I learned this skill, 10 years ago or whatever, that now I'm going to implement that and help a show, like create a show for someone, like create the graphics for someone for a show from scratch. Took my graphic design skills that I learned many years ago,
There you go.
and implemented that in a way that I was like, I never would have thought that I would be using this in theater, or I never thought that I would be using, the skills of lighting from what I learned in theater to now light someone in my photography aspect. And it changed my entire, like, everything that I do in the photography aspect is now done in an artistic way, or it's done in a way that like makes the person look even better. It enhances them in a way that they're like, I never saw myself like that. I didn't know I was photogenic. And I was like, if you light someone the correct way, or if you have the right gel or filter or color that's complementing that person or whatever, it makes them look, for lack of a better term, beautiful. Even if they're not the most beautiful person in the world, they see themselves in a way that's like, I actually look good. Wow.
Yeah.
And stuff. But again, had I not learned that skill, it would have been basic, click, like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you look bad. Sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Nothing I could do about that. But learning the lighting aspect and changing that and implementing that, and same thing with implementing the stuff that I learned in the box office, answering phones. Did not realize that would help train me for answering the phone for, other people and stuff.
Customer service. Customer service.
Exactly.
So turning the page.
Yeah.
What's next for you moving forward? Wrapping up 2025, moving into 2026.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm with a startup company. I don't know if I said the startup company aspect, but I am going to be moving forward with that. I am going to be auditioning for more shows. I am currently directing a show that I wrote for the Chickasaw Nation, and it's for the Christmas party. But I'll be doing more of that. I'll be writing more shows. And I will be doing more educational outreach programs for the youth and kids and stuff. And I will be continuing to share the power and magic of theater into the next generation of theater.
That's so cool. So, parting words, if you could speak directly to a young artist just starting out anywhere in Oklahoma, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's a good one. I would tell them that right now, if you feel like you are in a place that you are not succeeding, or you are not getting cast in the parts that you want, or you're not getting the opportunities and stuff like that you would like, to not give up, because had I given up, I would never have any of the opportunities that have been presented for me. Never, ever allow yourself to think that what you're doing is wrong. Always, always, always strive to learn something new. Listen, pay attention, because just because someone gives you a critique or constructive criticism does not mean they're attacking you personally. It means that they're trying to help you. And the fact that they are giving you that note it means they actually care enough to give you that note. They care about you as a person, to actually try to enhance whatever it is that you're doing. And that if you feel like, giving up, don't, because there is something that you bring to the table that nobody else does. And once you find out what that is, like I said, watch and pay attention to every single person on stage, every show that you watch, and find and see yourself in that character. See what you would do in that character, how you would bring that role to life. And when you find out what that is that you bring to the table, you will start seeing yourself differently. Directors will start seeing you differently. As you're going out into the world, you will start being more confident in the things that you do. And then that will lead to other things. Like, never take an opportunity that you meet someone for granted, because some of the people that I've met in my life years later ended up being another opportunity that I would have never thought possible, like ever. I mean, at all. So whatever you do, don't give up, because you are truly incredible. And when you learn what it is, like I said, that you bring to the table and what sets you apart, you will be one of the most powerful, strongest actors that you can be. And that's all that we can be.
That's it. Just be you.
Just be you.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, Nate, thanks for being a part of this.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you raising your hand, say I'll do it.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking some time out to join us on stage here.
Absolutely.
Let everybody else be a part of your stories.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Well, all right.
I really appreciate that.
So everybody else listening at home, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to listen, to be a part of the Oklahoma On Stage family. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate you guys sharing the podcast with everybody you know. And more importantly than anything else, thank you and continue to support the arts.
Absolutely.
Oklahoma On Stage, the spot